So, a few years back, when we were in 5th grade, I was sleeping in my bed. It was late, it was really late, like 2 in the morning, and I woke up. I don't know why, I woke up. I remember my back was to the door, and I was laying on the edge of my bed, facing the window. I like to look out the window at the neighborhood all the time when I couldn't sleep. I just got caught up at night thinking about all the other kids and all the other windows and just how big our world really is. And I remember that night I was thinking about that kind of stuff. I started thinking about the world being so big, and if it was that big, there must be so many things that we haven't discovered yet. And then I felt this pressure on the other side of the bed, this weight, and it was moving. I just thought maybe I was having a bad dream or something, so I tried to wake myself up a little bit more by opening my eyes really wide and then slamming them shut, and then open really wide and then slamming them shut, trying to get them adjusted to the dark. Eventually I realized that I was awake because I could see perfectly fine, and I didn't feel tired anymore. I was just scared because the weight on the other side of the bed was still there. It was still moving ever so slightly. I might never have worked up the courage to roll over and look, but there was this smell like rotten meat behind the butcher's shop. Like this awful stink took over the whole room. It was exactly the trigger I needed to snap me out of my fear, and I finally rolled over to look, and lying there on the other edge of the bed was a man facing away from me. It wasn't just a man, it was a man with his skin peeled off. He was all red. He wasn't bleeding, but he was sore and red and wet looking. And just laid there in shock, watching as he breathed rapidly, like he was panting like a dog. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to risk moving or bothering him or it. I just laid there staring at his back, watching him breathing quickly. What was the same? You could see where it pulled off. Pieces of its skin, there was like a strange texture to it, like almost like a wood, like a grain, and there were marks on the skin where it was ripped and peeled away from itself. It was disgusting. The most terrifying part was that I knew on the other side of the bed he was awake. His eyes wide open, this huge evil grin on his face, his eyes trying really hard to look over its shoulder, but just waiting for me to move, waiting in eager anticipation for me to do something. Oh, and the stink was really getting to me. I don't know if it was getting stronger or if it was just sitting too long in my nose, but I started to gag, and I really didn't want to move. I knew it was waiting for me to do something, but my body, I couldn't control it. And I started coughing. And I had to close my eyes for a brief second because of it. And when I opened them again, he had turned over. I hadn't felt anything, but somehow the red man was now facing me, inches away from my nose, staring at me through the tops of his eyes, breathing rapidly and noiselessly, like a dog, panting softly, with a huge grin on his face. And I tried to scream. I tried to call out for my parents, but all I could do was wet the bed and lie in it, staring at him in the eyes, frozen, until the sun started to come up. And finally, with light starting to come through my window, I worked up enough courage to roll off the bed onto the floor, and I crawled as quickly as I could to the door, and once I was in the hallway, I jumped up to my feet and I started to run. But I stopped. If this was a bad dream, and I woke up my parents for this, I knew my dad would hit me. So I waited for a minute, and I gathered myself, and when I went back to my bedroom to see if it was still there, if I just imagined it. Well, I got to the door and I pushed it open just a crack and peered through it to my empty bed. Not a spot of blood was there, so I figured it was a bad dream, but when I got back in bed, the side that the Redman was lying on was still warm. Hey, did you like today's story? Let me know what you thought in the comments down there. Interested in hearing the next part? Well, it's going to be right here when it's available. I release a new scary story every Friday, and over there you will see that there is a link to my Paranormal Investigations channel, where I go to Minnesota and go ghost hunting with Ghost Stories Incorporated. It's 100% true, unadulterated documentary footage of what we find out there in the Midwest. It's pretty creepy. Check it out. And if you like what you see there, or you like what you see here, subscribe. It's free, and it helps me keep doing what I love doing most, which is talking to you. See you next week.